Story time. Hi, welcome to my page. And if you're following me from YouTube, welcome to my channel. So, we've discussed 6 pillars or factors to help you accelerate your career the last 2 weeks. And today I just thought, let me just share a short story of how I've used those pillars in my own career. So, I started my career in Eswatini and hardworking. When I start working, I'm just that kind of person that will just, I even forget I have to go home, like literally. I spend time, I throw myself in my work, and I was lucky. I'll say I was lucky that I was thrown into the deep end. And my very first position was assistant manager. And that meant working with different people, working with a team, and coaching that team to perform. So I started coaching very early in my life. And after doing that for a while, for other reasons, pressing reasons, well, I think most of them just being young and being adventurous, I decided to resign and I went to UK. In UK, it was, yes, I can't call it career pivoting. I mean, I can't call it career architecting. I was just me exploring. And in that environment as well, I learned very key lessons. But what was key, it was, the skills that I'd learned in my previous role, I found that it was still relevant. Of course, the qualifications, they were not recognized. Our whole 4-year degree, you're young, you're thinking, oh, I've just completed my 4-year degree. And upon evaluating a degree, you find that, I think they said it was equivalent to a higher diploma, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. But, that ability to start afresh, form relationships, prove yourself in a new market, and perform immediately. That was key lessons there. And due to personal reasons, again, I needed to go back to Eswatini. Now, last week I spent a bit of time talking about relationships. Those relationships that I'd formed in my the last organization that I'd worked for were very critical. Within coming back to Eswatini, well, while I was still in UK, I was able to reach out to my former leaders and tell them that I now, due to whatever reasons, I needed to come back home, and I needed a job. And they said, we would be so happy to work with you. They were very welcoming. Within 2 weeks of being in Eswatini, sorry, I'm just going to cut the story short because I can't really go there. It's very emotional. Within 2 weeks of coming back at home, I had a job, and within about 3 months, I got a promotion. And it's not just by, a favor of God and all, but also because I have results. Within the time that I had spent, I had tangible results, and they were sure of the value that I brought to the table. So I worked again for about 6 more years with them. And again, I got to that point where I was looking for more growth. I think I've shared that story. And I was able to take stock of the skills, the competencies, the qualification that I had. And I was able to, even though it was an NGO, I was able to transfer all those skills to a role in the private sector. Now, that was very challenging. Again, I was starting afresh. I think my video today is about sharing how I've restarted. I've restarted because of a record of competence. I've restarted because I knew that, the value that I have, the clarity, I was clear about the value, the skill that I have, that I'm going to be able to be successful. Throw me into any environment and I'll be successful. So I did that. And within 1.5 years, again, I got a promotion into a senior role, which was challenging. But again, the ability to work with people, forming relationships. If I tell you that relationships are very key, I wish I could unpack it. Sponsors, relationships with sponsors, with senior leaders, making sure that the key people that matter know the value that you bring, because in organizations, life happens, things happen. But what will help you are those relationships. They will come in very handy at the right time when you need them. So I was able to have tangible results. And if I tell you that, yes, when the time came again, I was now thinking of what's next for me, how do I grow, where do I grow, and looking at the career goals that I had, I knew that, okay, I needed to upskill myself. And so that meant that, I needed to relocate. Hence, I'm now living in New Zealand. So I made that decision to stop what I was doing. A lot of people called it career suicide, but I'm a risk taker. I cannot lie and say it was easy. No, no. I made a video. I've made several videos about how difficult it was. I will tell you till today that it was a difficult decision. But that ability to know that, yes, throw me into any environment, let me start afresh, let me start again, I will thrive, I will be able to do it. How? Why was I confident? So first I was confident because throughout my career, I've been documenting my results. If there's one thing I will ask you to do, document your results all the time. And I was able to, yes, that competence. So hard work, I said it was a starting point and not the whole strategy. Yes, hard work did bring me those results that I had, and hence I was able to tell my story. I was able to communicate my value. So first thing I did when I got to New Zealand, yes, I'd enrolled for so I was still like pursuing my academic qualifications, but also I started registering with the professional networks. I started attending professional networking sessions. I got a coach. I got myself a coach. If I tell you that coaches are critical, I don't know how you've made it in your career, but coaches in my career, they've been very helpful. And this individual, God bless his soul, he was very helpful because at that point I was still studying. I hadn't been exposed to the world of work in New Zealand. I was confident of the skills that I had. I'm confident of the results, but I didn't know whether the New Zealand market in terms of their HR practices, were they ahead? Was I below? Where was I in terms of the knowledge that I had and the results that I had? And so he was able to bring all that into context and was able to, really give me feedback that my skills are transferable, that I could easily, really plug and play, would easily perform if I were given an HR role in New Zealand, because the academic part helped me to understand the labor laws and, of course, international HRM, which was very exciting, strategic HRM, things that, modules that fired me up and that really interest me. So I was able then to, when I completed my studies, to just, again, be able to tell my story. The nice thing about New Zealand is, people will always be asking you, why are you here? What brought you here? What's your story? And I'd learned the art of perfecting my story, like be able to condense all those years into a 5 minute speech, or if it is a 30 minutes conversation, being able to do that. And so really clarity in terms of the value that I bring, clarity in terms of what am I looking for, because throughout all those conversations, they'll be like, okay, sure, this is who you are, this is your story, what are you looking for? And I'll be able to articulate that. So again, competence, communication, and visibility. The first thing that I did in all the roles that I've heard is form relationships. Relationships are very key. Form relationships, and like I said, not selfish ones, but authentic relationships. And I think we very like it because New Zealand, the Kiwis are very friendly people. And it's really second nature to form meaningful relationships. And so visibility and adaptability, the ability to quickly learn. If there's one thing that I knew throughout my career, was that I even had a slogan that if it's in a book, I will find it and I will make it work. So immediately I'm thrown into a new environment. I just quickly learn. What do I know? What do I need to learn? Where's the gap? And I quickly address all the gaps, and if it means me working extra, I'm able to do that just to make sure that I bring myself up to speed and I immediately start performing. So I did that. And then adaptability. So that ability to unlearn the old skills, the irrelevant skills, irrelevant behaviors, and also culture. It's very important to understand the culture. It's a multinational organization that I'm working for. Well, organization that I've worked for and that I'm working for even currently. So that culture, being able to adapt to different cultures, having that ability to thrive in a multicultural environment, came in very handy, as well as, advocating for yourself. Be able to tell your story all the time. So take your time and just sit and think through all those pillars. I'm just making this video to encourage somebody that is sitting and thinking, I'd like to make a change, but really, do I have what it takes? Or maybe I'm too comfortable. believe me, believe me, when I wanted to make this change, I was thinking, why should I go and prove myself again? You know? But when you stop learning, you stop growing. So that's one thing I just kept challenging myself that, you know what, keep learning, and you by doing that you learn new skills and then also you grow. So it hasn't been difficult to prove myself. Why? Because I know what I know the value that I bring. Literally, it's just like, okay, this is what I know, this is the environment that I'm in, what are the policies, what are we doing, and then what do I need to deliver, and then who are the key stakeholders, and I just immediately do that. So it's not difficult at all. It may be scary, definitely very scary in all the changes that I've made, whether it was changing a sector or changing a job or continent. It has been very scary, but being courageous, knowing that, you know what, having that positive mindset, it is going to work out. Challenges will be there, but I'm going to make it. Throw me into the deep end, I will swim and swim across. So that has been my attitude. And I just want to encourage somebody as well that it's not impossible. Challenging, yes, but it's not impossible. And this time around, I've built tools. Like I did say, I think mentioned in my first video, I said, when I was starting this whole journey, I said, what would I have liked? What kind of support would I have appreciated earlier on in my career? And I've sat down to craft different tools and guides to help you through this journey. So I've also, now, if you go to my website, www.pivotwithshibs.com, you will find that the different set of tools that are available. But I've developed the career pivot system, a system that has got different tools to take you through the journey. You're going to have a pivot guide. You're going to have an interview tool. You're going to have CV templates, and also, as a bonus, a salary negotiating framework. So you don't have any excuse to stay in any career that you don't want to stay in. You don't have any excuse to be stuck in something that you do not like. Really, the opportunity is there for you to make the change. It's your career, and it better be your choice. Thank you so much for your time.